It's become a very common theme. It's a very popular theme in movies or television where one person is convicted of a crime. And throughout the course of the TV show or the movie, you find out the person who's convicted, and usually for some reason has pled guilty, they're they're taking someone else's punishment. It's a tried and true plot twist to many cop shows or investigative shows or attorney shows. It's a tried and true. I don't know if I'm allowed to say the name of the TV shows, but I'm going to anyway. The biggest use of this plot twist is there's two of them actually. One of them's not on the air anymore, but one of them is the court drama show Bull, and the other is it's not on the air anymore, but the old crime scene investigation show CSI. You know, the whole story. So and so is on trial for whatever crime. And through investigation, through everything, they discover that this person didn't do it and they're covering for somebody else. Usually the one who actually did the crime has some kind of future ahead. They're, you know, they have a full boat ride to college, or has created some kind of invention that's going to make life great, and being convicted of this crime will destroy that. So a friend or a family member, quote unquote, takes the bullet for them, so that the person who actually did the crime, their life is not ruined. Again, it's a tried and true method for any drama on TV or even on the big screen. There's a word that is used for when someone pays for someone else's faults. There's a word for it. To make amends, to atone for what they've done, to gain something in exchange for payment. So now this word doesn't necessarily, I misquoted, I got ahead of myself. Okay, there's a word. Let me start that over. There's a word in the English language for when someone pays for their faults. When someone makes amends or atones for their actions. Or to gain something in exchange for payment. That word is redeem. The definition of redeem actually has 3 parts. Believe it or not. Those 3 parts are: 1, to compensate for the faults or bad aspects of something. Number 2, to gain or regain possession of something in exchange for payment. And number 3, to fulfill or carry out a pledge or promise. There's 2 places the word redeem is used quite a bit, quite often, most often. One, at the grocery store. I mean, there's other places, but okay, the grocery store, you redeem a coupon. Okay, you gain something for a lesser price. You get a pound of coffee for 50 cents off. But you have to give up that coupon, that piece of paper, in order to gain the 50 cents off a pound of coffee. Now, when you gain something you gain something for a lesser price by submitting a coupon, fits the second definition of to gain or regain, to gain possession of something in exchange for payment. You gave up the coupon in exchange for a cheaper price. Now, the other place we hear the word redeem is obviously in church. We call Christ the Great Redeemer, after all. So, why is he called the Redeemer? Well, unlike that grocery store coupon, which only fits one of the definitions of redeem, Jesus fits all three. Let's take them one at a time here. I'll go through it fast. I won't take forever on this. Okay, the first definition, to compensate for the faults or bad aspects of something. There's also a sub-definition to this. Atone or make amends for error or evil. We all know Jesus was the only sinless person to ever live. We're taught that day one of Sunday school. The only perfect person. So how does this fit him if he never had any faults or bad aspects? How did he compensate for the faults or bad aspects of something if he never made an error or showed any evil? Jesus paid for our bad aspects, our evils, our errors. The man who never sinned atoned for our sins, ours, by sacrificing himself on the cross. By dying on that cross, he took our compensation for our bad aspects. He atoned for our evils. In 1 Peter, it even states that Jesus, the perfect person, sacrificed himself on the cross for us. And this man was abused, beaten, mocked, and killed for you. You, me, the guy across the street, even the guy down the road that you may not like very much for whatever reason. All evils, all errors. Jesus compensated for us by his death. Now on to definition number 2. To gain or regain possession of something in exchange for payment. We buy things all the time. Food, clothes, cars, and the like. But we use money. We gain a possession in exchange for money payment. Excuse me. Can you gain a possession without payment? Even if we gain something, in, say, like a will, our payment is the loss of a loved one. Think about it for a moment. What possession can you acquire without some sort of payment? Since we're sinners, unfortunately, Jesus had to make the payment for our souls. By his sacrifice, Jesus opened the door to gaining possession of our hearts. By his death, he made the payment. Pretty intense when you think about it that way. He opened the door to gaining possession of our eternal souls by his death. Definition number 3. To fulfill or carry out a pledge or promise. In the Old Testament, it told many places throughout the Old Testament, it told of the coming Messiah. It told of the sacrifice this Messiah would make for all. Jesus spent a large portion of the Gospels telling the disciples that he was going to die. None of them believed him, or none of them wanted to believe him. In fact, Peter flat told him that it's not going to happen. By dying on the cross for us, Jesus fulfilled that prophecy. He fulfilled that pledge. He fulfilled that promise. In fact, his dying words were, "It is finished." There is an ongoing argument, has been for years, if Jesus was referring to his life ending or the prophecy being fulfilled. It is finished. Only Jesus knows exactly what he meant. But the ongoing argument makes you lose sight of Jesus' sacrifice and fulfilling that prophecy and that promise, that pledge. Jesus is the Redeemer. Jesus is the only thing that fulfills all three definitions of the word. Jesus compensated for our sins. He gained the chance for possession of our hearts. And he fulfilled the promise of his coming and sacrifice. Whenever we redeem a coupon or whatever, we have to sacrifice something. The coupon is no longer in our possession. It's gone. We have to sacrifice the coupon in exchange for whatever we are purchasing for a cheaper price. With Jesus as the Redeemer, we don't have to sacrifice anything. He's already done it. He paid the price. He sacrificed literally everything, so we don't have to. The fact that he did this for everyone. He even did it for the Pharisees that put him to death, that would not let Pontius Pilate. Pontius Pilate tried. I've said this before. He gets a bad rap in this whole thing. Pontius Pilate tried everything he could to where Jesus would not die. Jesus died for Pontius Pilate. And yes, he even died for those Pharisees that insisted he be hung on the cross. He died for those soldiers that spiked through his wrist. Jesus is the great Redeemer. Again, he's the only thing ever that fulfills all three definitions of the word. If he's the only thing ever that fulfills all three, why not give him everything you have? He's the Redeemer. Our souls can be free because of him. All we have to do is say, "Yes, Lord, I'm with you." I think that's a very small thing for us to have to give for what he did. But it's all we have to do. It's all we need to do. Look to heaven and say, "Yes, Lord, I am yours. Take my heart, do with me what you will." That's all he asks. That's all he wanted. He is the Redeemer. He took every punishment for you and for me. Your next door neighbor, that person who's done you wrong. He did it for all. He is the great Redeemer.